James Gunn's Superman can be beat, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he is weaker compared to Henry Cavill's Man of Steel. Welcome to Stats In. If you're just joining us, please subscribe and don't forget to turn on notifications bell for more video. As the co-CEO of DC Studios, James Gunn has the authority to draft the blueprint as well as approve the final cut of every DCU project. Fortunately, the creative eccentricity of the filmmaker is just what the world needs to bring DC out of its grim-dark era of isolation and succeed again. Superman, being the first film of the DCU, shouldered that responsibility with a unique premise. With the launch of Superman drawing closer, we now understand what that premise amounts to. James Gunn never wanted to bring Superman of the 40s to life. His superhero was molded to fit the society of the 21st century. But more importantly, Gunn's Superman was made to be a realistic representation of what heroism truly means and the trials and tribulations that make us who we are. James Gunn has been nothing if not forthright about the DCU Superman, but hinting that he might be weaker than Henry Cavill's Man of Steel was not on our 2025 bingo cards. As a fan of the superpowered alien, the directors claim, "We have a Superman that can be beat," is not what one wants to hear ahead of the movie's release. However, as much as Gunn's words have the power to incite fans, it is nothing compared to the slugfest that DC factions can throw themselves into over their favorite superheroes. Currently, a lot of divisive opinions have been making the rounds on social media, which is exactly what Gunn predicted. But given how the critics have rated Superman at 86% on Rotten Tomatoes, we should learn to trust the director's vision before passing judgment. When Zack Snyder imprinted his vision for the Kryptonian superhero into DCU, his story promised an arc of a god hero thrown off his pedestal and laid at the mercy of men who feared him. Yet, Superman answered when the world called for his help, and though mocked, humiliated, hated, and feared, Henry Cavill's Man of Steel protected the planet he called home. David Corenswet's Superman isn't all that different. He is human and flawed. He can be defenseless and beaten. He is vulnerable to attack and prone to harm. And yes, this Superman does bleed, thus answering the question that Snyder asked nearly 10 years ago. But does that necessarily make Corenswet's Superman weaker than Cavill's Man of Steel? I wanted Superman to be vulnerable. I didn't want a Superman who could punch planets. Honestly, in talking to people, a lot of people are like, "I like Batman better because he can actually be beat," and I get that. So we have a Superman who can be beat. In a world of invincible superheroes and demigods, James Gunn's Superman is a breath of fresh air. With his all-encompassing indestructibility removed from the equation, it becomes infinitely more appealing to watch a man grow into a hero. What do you think of James Gunn's portrayal of Superman against Snyder's grimdark vision of the Man of Tomorrow? Let us know in the comments. According to James Gunn, the DCU Superman isn't defined by his all-powerful ability to hear everything, be everywhere, beat everybody, and save everyone. In the Rolling Stone interview, he claimed, "I see the online things, who would beat whom? Homelander or Superman or King whatever, Adam Warlock or Brightburn, and I'm like, this is the stupidest King conversation. Like, so then whoever would win this fight means that they're the best. Because I'll just go out and write God-Man, who can destroy you with a wink. And I win. I win all the fights forever." When Gunn puts it that way, it does make sense why creating an all-powerful being would make everyone else redundant. In the newly minted universe of DCU, Superman isn't the one you call for help, only when apocalyptic beings invade our world. He is also there to save the little people from disasters that threaten their everyday peace and way of life. In a way, that makes Superman truly live up to his identity as the beacon of hope, symbol of protection, and his unwavering commitment to doing good, even in the face of adversity. Without the red trunks, Superman's suit falls flat. James Gunn's design saves David Corenswet from Henry Cavill's stiff, trunkless Man of Steel look. Welcome to Stats In. If you're just joining us, please subscribe and don't forget to turn on notifications bell for more video. But James Gunn's decision to restore the classic red trunks represents more than just a costume choice. It's a fundamental shift in how Superman should be perceived by audiences. While Zack Snyder's Man of Steel stripped away what he considered outdated elements, Gunn and Corenswet have embraced the inherent optimism and approachability that the traditional costume represents. The new Superman film, which launched with an impressive $122 million domestic box office total, via Forbes, proves that audiences are ready for a Superman who doesn't shy away from his colorful, hopeful origins. David Corenswet's Superman suit just looks wrong without the red trunks. His version marks a return to tradition, after Henry Cavill and TV's Tyler Hoechlin skipped the costume's most debated feature, the bright red underpants. Here is how Corenswet's suit looked without it. Cavill's suit possessed an unnaturally stiff, almost architectural quality. It resembled protective armor or a ceremonial garment that existed independently of its owner. The Man of Steel costume controversy began long before Henry Cavill ever donned the cape, but his version also revealed a deeper design issue that extended far beyond the absence of red trunks. This rigid construction created a psychological barrier between Clark Kent and his superhero identity, making the transformation feel forced rather than organic. In the last big Superman adaptation, filmmaker Zack Snyder said the trunks couldn't make him look cool. His reasoning was rooted in a desire to modernize the character. Snyder told Yahoo Movies in 2013. "I did fight to keep them, but let's not forget that the red trunks are left over from Victorian-era strong men, who had to wear flesh-colored leotards and trunks over it so they didn't look naked. So I feel we've moved on a little bit." Cavill himself seemed to embrace this more adult approach to the costume. In 2011, soon after the first photo was revealed, the actor told Jay Leno, "Why wear underpants when you can be far more revealing?" However, the actor's perspective evolved over time. When asked about the trunks a decade later by Stephen Colbert, Cavill indicated he would don them if need be. Cavill said, via Facebook, "The costume retained its distinctive form even when empty, creating an unsettling impression that Superman was merely filling a mold rather than embodying the character naturally." James Gunn's approach to Superman's costume represents a complete philosophical reversal from the Snyder era. Initially, Gunn admitted he was on the no-trunks team for a long time. "I really loved my suit. I thought it was pretty cool. However, if it were to happen again, I would definitely be open to the idea of adding the trunks in some way, shape, or form." The trunk debate isn't new to Superman productions. That actor George Reeves reportedly said, via New York Magazine, "I'm getting a little too old to be running around in my underwear," toward the end of production on The Adventures of Superman in the 1950s. Even Christopher Reeve's iconic 1978 costume sparked behind-the-scenes discussions about Superman's anatomy, with costume considerations that became legendary Hollywood lore. The fabric responds to his body language, creating an authentic transformation where the person and the symbol merge seamlessly. The restored red trunks serve a dual purpose. They provide essential visual separation that prevents the monotonous blue mass effect while ensuring the costume appears as genuine clothing rather than a rigid external shell. Gunn continued. However, it was David Corenswet himself who convinced the director to embrace the traditional design. Gunn explained to Gizmodo in December 2024, "We were trying on all these different versions, and we tested with trunks and no trunks, and one of the things David said is that Superman wants kids to not be afraid of him. He's an alien. He's got these incredible powers. He shoots beams